Picture this: 1916, the world is tearing itself apart in the Great War. While millions fight and die in the trenches, two men, one British, one French, huddle over a map in secret. With a few strokes of a pencil, Sir Mark Sykes and Francois Georges Picot draw straight lines across the deserts of the Middle East, carving up the dying Ottoman Empire for themselves. They ignored ancient tribes, ethnic groups, and religious communities. These lines created the borders we know today. But what if they never drew them? What if, instead, the Allies kept their promise of a unified, independent Arab nation, a promise made to leaders like Sherif Hussein of Mecca, who had risked everything to fight alongside them? How would our world, our history, our politics, our very society be different today? Let's explore this incredible what if. Without Sykes-Picot, the first and most stunning change would be the map itself. Forget the separate countries of Iraq, Syria, Jordan, and Lebanon. In their place, imagine a single, vast Arab kingdom, maybe a federation, stretching from the Mediterranean coast deep into the Arabian Peninsula. This new powerhouse, likely led by the Hashemite family, would have been born from a triumphant war of independence, not a backroom deal in Europe. This wouldn't just be a cosmetic change. Those artificial borders crammed rival groups together, creating a century of conflict. Sunnis, Shias, Kurds, and Christians were forced into unstable nations. Without those lines in the sand, the very foundation of so many civil wars and regional conflicts would simply vanish. This could have also meant a different fate for the Kurds. Instead of being a stateless people scattered across 4 nations, they might have negotiated for their own autonomous region or even an independent state from the very beginning. This unified Arab state would have completely upended the global balance of power. Britain and France wouldn't have spent decades as colonial puppet masters in the Middle East, draining their resources and military might to put down nationalist uprisings. Their empires might have crumbled even faster. Fast forward to the Cold War. Instead of the Middle East becoming a chaotic chessboard for the US and the Soviet Union, with each superpower arming its chosen client state, you'd have a single, powerful Arab nation. Rich in oil, this state could have maintained a strong, neutral stance, refusing to be a pawn in anyone's game. It would have wielded its own power on the world stage, changing the entire dynamic of the 20th century. And what about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? The Balfour Declaration, Britain's promise for a Jewish national home, still exists in this timeline. But the context is radically different. Instead of facing a collection of weak, fragmented British and French mandates, Jewish migration would have occurred into a single, strong, and sovereign Arab kingdom. It's impossible to know the exact outcome, but the path to conflict, the borders, and the very nature of the struggle would have been fundamentally altered from the start. This new reality would have also transformed science, technology, and wealth. The region's immense oil reserves would still be key, but the profits would flow differently. A powerful, unified Arab government would have had far more leverage against foreign oil companies. We might have seen oil nationalized decades earlier, with that wealth funding massive, homegrown projects, world-class universities, cutting-edge hospitals, and ambitious infrastructure designed for Arab needs, not European military supply lines. Imagine a grand, pan-Arab university system becoming a global hub for research, attracting the world's best minds to work on everything from desert agriculture to renewable energy. The region could have become an intellectual and scientific powerhouse. On the other hand, without the constant proxy wars fueled by the Cold War, the Middle East might have seen a much slower development of advanced military technology. The arms race that defined much of the region's modern history might never have taken off. The impact on people's daily lives and identities would be profound. Instead of identifying as Iraqi, Syrian, or Jordanian identities forged by colonial mapmakers, the primary identity might be simply Arab. A shared story of victory and independence, not division and foreign rule, would bind the nation together. Of course, the fate of minorities is a huge question. In our history, European powers often played favorites, elevating certain groups to maintain control, which later fueled sectarian resentment. In a unified state, would minorities have been marginalized? Or would a federal system have protected them? The rise of secular Arab nationalism at the time offered a powerful vision of civic equality for all, regardless of religion, which could have offered a third, more hopeful path. The ripples of this change would extend across the entire globe. Think about the defining conflict of our own era, the War on Terror. Extremist groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS grew out of the chaos, poverty, and resentment left behind by failed states and foreign intervention in places like Iraq and Syria. A stable, legitimate, and prosperous Arab state would have been far less fertile ground for such ideologies to take root. The 9/11 attacks and the subsequent wars that defined the early 21st century might never have happened. The global economy would look different, too. A single Arab state controlling a huge portion of the world's oil would be like an ultra-powerful OPEC from day one. It could dictate global energy prices. This might have had an unexpected upside. Higher, more politically driven oil prices could have forced the West to invest in renewable energy and electric cars decades earlier than in our timeline. The world without Sykes-Picot is a fascinating and complex alternative. We trade a known history of conflict and division for the potential of a powerful, unified Arab civilization. A world with perhaps less terrorism, but also one where global energy and economic stability rests in the hands of a single, colossal state. This alternate history isn't necessarily a utopia. Could this massive state have fallen into a brutal dictatorship? Could internal tensions have erupted into an even larger, more devastating civil war? The history we have is one of broken promises and lines in the sand. The history that might have been shows us just how fragile our reality is. What do you think? Would you prefer this alternate history? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you found this journey into a different past as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button, subscribe for more historical deep dives, and share this video. Thanks for watching.